Hasan Piker is back in the news once again. It's almost like he can't stay out of the limelight, but this time it's because Hasan is allegedly getting sued. That's right, Hasan may actually be facing some consequences for something he did fairly recently, and that is, you may remember a few days back, I posted this video here talking about how Hasan actually was threatening somebody live on Twitch. He pulled what was later revealed to be a airsoft gun and made threatening gestures towards the camera, basically implying a threat against a chatter who had made comments that Hasan didn't like in the video. Now that chatter was Apex Crypto, who is this account right here. Now you might ask yourself, how do we know that this is the actual Apex Crypto guy? You'll probably note that the account is fairly new, right? Only following 4 people and only having 7 followers seems a little suspicious, but I'm fairly certain this is actually the guy that Hasan called out on stream because of this other YouTuber who we'll see get mentioned in one of the posts by Apex Crypto named MattyO, who has a video up on his channel that basically confirms that this stuff is happening. So I'm fairly certain that this is the real guy. The reason this guy is in the news is because he posted this tweet yesterday. Now actually, he retweeted a Nicholas Diorio tweet where Nicholas Diorio claims that he was threatening Hasan. I don't think that's true, even just based on the comment that he has highlighted here. That's not literally a threat. Is it antagonistic? Sure, but I would argue that his other comments towards the communist running for New York City mayor were significantly worse than what he said to Hasan that actually caused Hasan to crash out. But again, also, I don't think that there's technically speaking anything illegal with his other messages either, because political speech, especially hyperbolic political speech, is defended under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. And that's because if you say something that isn't believable, you know, something that's so hyperbolic and so beyond the pale that nobody would believe that you actually believe that, or that a reasonable person wouldn't believe that you actually want that to happen, then typically speaking, it has a higher degree of protection under the First Amendment because a reasonable person wouldn't expect it to be something that actually will happen in the future. Anyway, my point is that the comments that Nicholas Diorio points out here, Nicholas Diorio says that he threatened Hasan. That's not true. He was lightly antagonistic against Hasan. That's besides the point. I just mentioned that because the tweet actually starts off by saying this is defamation, so he's telling Nicholas Diorio that he's defaming him by saying that he threatened Hasan, which I don't know if I would go after Nicholas Diorio for saying this, but he's allowed to do what he wants to do. Anyway, the actual meat of this post says, let's go over what we are looking at. He showed my face to a stream of 30,000 viewers, and the context of all this was a deliberate action to direct a large volatile audience towards me. He specifically said, does he even show his face, while laughing and joking, meaning he did not feel threatened. He brandished a gun with malicious intent and intimidated me. This was done live. His reach of 30,000 viewers, meaning I have a much greater chance of harassment IRL or consequences IRL. He brandished a gun, while focusing on my, I believe he meant to put identity, in order to intimidate me and make me fear for my safety. With his audience, it created a more pervasive threat resulting in civil assault. I have been looking over my shoulder and just being ready to defend myself with force or flee if the situation arrives. What he has done was outrageous and reckless for a public figure, and it has affected all 3 of my businesses as well as my personal life. He publicly placed me in a false light, and I have had indirect claims of me threatening him from other creators, which I will also hold him and them liable for. The courts go off true threats and not hyperboles and inflammatory speech, and then he tags Nuxtaku and says, we will begin the legal proceedings. I don't know why he tags Nux here. I don't know if Nux is working with him to help him sue Hasan, because that would make sense because Nuxtaku does not like Hasan at all. But the point of this entire tweet is him saying that number 1, he doesn't believe that he threatened Hasan, and number 2, that he is going to sue Hasan for all of these reasons that he's laid out. Which I think, and I'm not a lawyer, but I think he lays out some pretty good points here and things that if I was on a jury in a case like this, I would find pretty persuasive to get me to rule in his favor. I think that when Hasan did this, when Hasan pulled out what ended up being a fake firearm to threaten this guy on stream, and actually first he threatened some random guy who wasn't even the right person. I think that he went way too far, and everybody knew that he was going too far. You cannot just pull out a gun and make threatening gestures and implied threatening comments to people over the internet and think you're untouchable. I think that there's almost certainly a case here. That being said, it really depends, right? If this guy here is only going to sue Hasan for defamation, I don't think that Apex Crypto is, you know, a huge public figure the same way Hasan is. Depending on whether or not he's considered a public figure or not would make his case a lot easier for defamation. I think that the defamation part of his case is a lot less important than the other parts where he mentions he was being harassed and how he's scared for his life. I feel like that is a lot more of a big deal than the defamation thing. And if I was him, that's what I would focus on. I would focus on the fact that genuinely he was threatened, and now he walks around and he doesn't know if Hasan's audience of crazy people are going to do something to him. I 100% agree that this guy has some kind of case because he's now living in fear over what happened to him. And so, like he says in this tweet, the outcome may be uncertain, but the effort is everything. No matter the perceived gap in resources or influence, the decision to fight back is a victory victory in itself. Never stop trying, don't be silenced, don't be intimidated. Every stand taken inspires another. Now, I do worry in general about lawsuits on the YouTube sphere. I don't think it's great in general that we are going into a time when people are just suing each other willy-nilly. However, in this case, with the facts that he's laid out, this is 100% justified. It's the same thing with Ethan Klein, right? With Ethan Klein, that people started harassing him, harassing his family. They started calling the CPS on his family. And so when he starts suing people, I don't feel bad for them because things got too extreme. And in this case also, things got way too extreme for no reason in this case. I don't know why Hasan freaked out on some guy who was basically just a random chatter watching his stream. I do think that in this case, I'll be interested to see how it turns out. I do think that it's an uphill battle because proving defamation would be difficult. However, I do think that the harassment and the feeling threatened, I think that those are big things that he could possibly win some kind of lawsuit about. So I'll be interested to see how this is going, and I will be following this in the future. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and God bless you.